Joined by Aaliyah Boston, Carolyn Peck, ncaaw, and Andrea Carter. All right, we've had a couple of minutes to soak this in. Give me some perspective on how this title game will go down as.
I think it's got to be one of the best ever. I mean, it was, Iowa had the lead at the beginning, then South Carolina came back. There was a battle of trying to contain the best scorer in the game right now, and the defense that Raven Johnson went, and it was a total, complete effort from both sides.
And also what puts this as one of the best games is it was a revenge game. Listen, you never forget. You knew the energy from last year because of how much women's basketball was on the rise, and especially this year, the accomplishments that Iowa's had, that Caitlin has had. Everyone wants to see the show, and so it's definitely one of the best because they made it good.
You mentioned Caitlin Clark. She did just take to the podium following the final game of her college career. Here's what she had to say just moments ago. We do not have that sound. Okay, but let's keep that perspective going because we heard just a classy moment for Dawn there to acknowledge the contributions of Caitlin Clark.
Well, we know where
Dawn
she is.
is getting me. You know where Dawn Staley is whenever the crowd starts screaming. But just a moment to reflect on what you've seen from Caitlin Clark during her career.
We just witnessed the greatest scoring season in college basketball, men's or women's. So that's why I love what Coach Dawn Staley said to Caitlin Clark. A lot of people will say, is she the greatest of all time? Y'all, she is the most impactful player of our generation. And in some ways, that even matters more than all of that.
Yeah, I mean, she completely changed the game. And we came in talking about Caitlin and her being the main focus. And then we talked about South Carolina and their depth and their team. And the one nugget, as I'm looking at this stat sheet, 37 bench points, 0 for Iowa. It was a complete team effort on both ends for South Carolina to take down the monster that was Caitlin Clark.
We do have that sound now for Caitlin Clark, so let's get that to you now.
Yeah, it's certainly been a special year, and to be honest, like after last year, I was kind of like, well, how do we top doing what we did last year? And somehow, some way, every single person in our locker room believed, and to be honest, this year was probably more special than last year. The teams we had to go through to get to this point, we won the Big Ten tournament. We lost 2 players that were 3-year starters for our program, and to be back in this position and come out here and battle, I mean, South Carolina is just so good. Like, there's only so much you can do.
I don't know if you heard Caitlin Clark just say, South Carolina is so good, there's only so much that you can do, Coach. You just got your 3rd title in program history. How do you feel?
I mean, I feel great. I'm tired. Like, I'm tired. That's hard. That's really hard. Our team plays so free. Like, they don't flinch. And we as coaches take on all the tightness. Like, I was a little afraid of how they would come out the gates because they were so loud and singing and doing their thing in the locker room. It was like on another level, though. It was actually the level that they were at when we played at North Carolina. And we almost lost there, so it was kind of that. But I was like, let me just stay out of it. Let them be who they are, and let's see what happens. And then they come out and get us in transition, and we had to make some adjustments. But I appreciate y'all for putting the pressure on us and having us win a national championship. I took that to heart. I really did. It made me nervous. Put a lot of pressure on us.
Every single one of us had you, Coach.
And they had no option.
But when you have to face a team that you lost to last year, and one of the issues was perimeter shooting, how did you change as a coach to be able to have the freedom now for your players to be able to play that inside-out game?
I would say this. I'm going to give a lot of credit to Winston Gandy, our new assistant basketball coach, who works with our perimeter players every single day. Like, sometimes I want to say, hey, buddy, give him a break. It's too much. It's too much. It's too much, right? And then he had the Iowa scout, and trust me, he was the difference maker. He watched them and watched them and watched them and watched them. It was so much information overload that I just kind of let him talk because we couldn't make as many adjustments as he was seeing. So we just tried to make the big adjustments. We tried to create a game plan that we felt like could get us to win. I mean, UConn did some great stuff that they were disciplined, and we were right on because we did start to work work Iowa Scout on Tuesday before we got here. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We didn't tell our players that, but that's exactly the rotations we needed to guard her. They didn't know. Good. Thank goodness they don't really stay in the moment. They just think you're just working on the NC State. But I'm super proud. Like I'm all tongue-tied. I'm sorry if I'm not speaking English.
Coach, I wanted to take a moment and talk about how emotional you were. And we heard Holly talk about it. We in the media have dubbed this as the revenge game. But I was privy to some information about maybe the previous attachment that Cleveland had emotionally in your life. Do you mind sharing what that is?
I do. I used to come to Cleveland Clinic twice a year when I had pericarditis. Dr. Klein, when we flew in, he texted me. He said, good luck and everything. I think he might have been here. He's the pericarditis specialist that when I was diagnosed with it, he was my second opinion. And it was during COVID. Actually, it wasn't during COVID. It ended during COVID. It happened in 2017 during our first national championship. He wanted me to just sit down and have a coffee. And we're on this national championship run, and he wants me to sit down and have a coffee. He said, if you don't, then you're going to have open heart surgery. So I stayed in the middle in that I allowed our assistant coaches to coach him up a little bit, because I wanted to be there for the ride. But Cleveland Clinic serves a special place in my heart because they treated me when I didn't know what was going on with me. And then, quite honestly, I lost my mother on the way back from Cleveland Clinic on August the 10th. So it's a special place in my heart. I'm glad that it etches a national championship in my heart because my family and basketball are all a big part of who I am, and we share in the success of our family.
Coach, the girls have talked multiple times that they stay poised because they see you are poised. I just really need to know, how do you stay that poised? Because I was up here watching and I was like, okay, they saw me, so how do you do it?
I'm not poised. Right.
But they
Right. They see what they want to see. And I want them to keep seeing that, because if they're going to bring more national championships, I need them the same way that they are. But I'm proud of the freshmen. Our freshmen stepped up big time.
Hello.
Like, big time. And then Camilla wouldn't let us lose. And I got to give a shout out to Ashlyn Watkins, who had a monster game on Friday, got in a little foul trouble, and I had to tell her, hey, you had us on Friday. Your teammates got you today. Yeah. Let them have you today. She ended up in the game at the end with some crucial blocks. So I'm just happy from top to bottom. Everybody impacted our team.
You know what that sounds like, Coach? That sounds like depth, okay? That sounds like depth. As we've said all along, 2 starting 5s on this team. Congratulations on your 3rd, but certainly not your last national championship. Dawn Staley, Coach of the Year, joining us here. Just absolutely incredible. Also, we're going to have to get you to drop the jacket details on the other side. Thank you so much for watching. We want to give a big shout out to everybody